Outside of a bookstore, self-help books sound life-changing, but once they're on your shelf, they're just paperweights. I don't know about you, but I've read my fair share of self-help books, and after a while, they start to sound the same. The same morning routine hacks, the same motivational mantras, the same just believe in yourself advice. And somehow, despite all that reading, we stay stuck in the same cycles. So this year, I want to do something different. Now, don't get me wrong, self-help books can be amazing, but here's the catch. If we don't have certain foundational skills like critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and systems-level thinking, it's hard to actually apply what we learn from them. Instead of becoming life-changing, those motivational tips just sit in our heads without creating real results. That's why today, I'm sharing 5 books that aren't labeled as self-help, but are far more powerful in shaping your life. These books will sharpen how you think, how you interact with others, and how you find meaning in the world. And if you stick around until the end, I've got a bonus recommendation that will help you put everything you've learned into action. 1. The Burnout Society by Byung-Chul Han. You know that feeling when you've checked off everything on your to-do list, but instead of feeling accomplished, you're just drained? Byung-Chul Han calls this the curse of the achievement society, and in his view, we've stopped living as humans and started behaving like hyper-efficient machines. But here's the kicker. We're not being pushed by external forces like an old-school authoritarian boss. Instead, we are the ones driving ourselves into the ground, convinced that we are only as good as our latest achievement. Hustle culture, grind mindset, side hustles. It's all fueling what Han describes as voluntary self-exploitation. Imagine someone deciding to rest by setting their smartwatch to track their breathing during meditation or listening to a podcast on achieving mindfulness. You're not really resting if you're still trying to optimize the experience. Han argues that when even relaxation becomes a productivity metric, we're no longer living, we're performing life. Here's where things get spicy. Han doesn't just criticize the hustle culture. He criticizes positivity itself. He believes that society's obsession with being endlessly optimistic and productive has created a culture where weakness, failure, or simply saying, "I'm tired," is seen as unacceptable. In his eyes, "You can do anything" is just another slogan that disguises exploitation. It convinces us that if we're not succeeding, we're the problem. It's like being told, failure isn't real, you just didn't try hard enough. For Han, this endless yes you can messaging isn't motivational, it's oppressive. This book was a reality check for me. It made me rethink the way I approach work, downtime, and even rest. I realized that burnout isn't just about doing too much, it's about the constant pressure to be more, even when you're already at your limit. Han doesn't give you a 5-step plan or a burnout detox. Instead, he hands you something more valuable, the reminder that you don't need to earn your rest. You're human, not a productivity machine. And once you really get that, the world slows down in the best way possible. Understanding how much of our ambition is borrowed rather than authentic is eye-opening. But here's the thing. Recognizing mimetic desire is just step 1. The real challenge is learning to think clearly enough to separate borrowed dreams from genuine goals. And that's where the next book comes in. It is like a mental GPS. It helps you cut through emotional noise, spot flawed reasoning, and navigate life with clarity and confidence. Let's dive in. 2. Being Logical, A Guide to Good Thinking by D.Q. McInerney. Imagine you're trying to build a house but don't have a solid foundation. Sounds like a disaster, right? That's exactly what happens when we dive into self-help without first mastering logical thinking. Being Logical by D.Q. McInerney is like the blueprint for constructing that foundation, ensuring your thinking doesn't collapse under emotional weight or logical fallacies. The blueprint for clear thought. McInerney's central idea is simple. Good thinking requires attention, precision, and an understanding of logical structure. He believes logic isn't just for philosophers, it's essential for everyday life, from debating ideas to making choices at work. The book walks you through the key principles of logic step by step, covering everything from identifying fallacies, slippery slopes, and straw men, to forming sound arguments. Spotting the oops moments. Let's talk about logical fallacies. Those sneaky mistakes we all make. Have you ever argued that if something bad happened after you forgot your lucky socks, it must be the socks' fault? That's a post hoc fallacy, and McInerney breaks down why our brains are wired to make those leaps. He's like that friend who points out plot holes in movies, but instead of ruining the fun, he's teaching you how to spot weak points in real-life arguments. Logic in a post-truth world. One of the most interesting debates McInerney touches on is the importance of objective truth. In an era of alternative facts and echo chambers, this book argues that truth isn't subjective or flexible. It's reality-based. Some critics argue that this viewpoint can sound rigid in a world that celebrates personal perspective. But McInerney makes a strong case. If our reasoning isn't tied to objective facts, we end up believing whatever feels right, and that's dangerous. Reading being logical feels like switching on your internal GPS after years of guessing directions. It helps you become immune to manipulative arguments, sensational headlines, and empty motivational soundbites. Before diving into any self-help advice, this book ensures you can separate healthful insights from flashy, empty promises. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the clearest thinker. I found that the lessons in being logical are especially crucial when life feels overwhelming. It's easy to make impulsive decisions when emotions are running high, but this book has helped me slow down and ask, is this thought actually true, or am I falling for a cognitive trap? It's not just a guide, it's a life skill, a toolkit for cutting through confusion and arriving at clarity. In a world that's louder and more chaotic than ever, being logical doesn't just teach you how to think, it teaches you how to trust your thinking. And trust me, once you've mastered that, every self-help book you read after will feel way more effective. Clear thinking is crucial, but it won't get you far if you can't connect with people. That's where our number 3 comes in. It's a guide to building trust, sparking conversations, and mastering social interaction. 3. Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. If you've ever felt out of place in a room full of people, or found yourself hiding by the snacks at a social gathering, been there? Captivate is your secret weapon. Vanessa Van Edwards dives into the fascinating science of social interactions and teaches you how to thrive in social situations, not just survive. It's not about being charming like a Hollywood lead. It's about using proven, research-backed techniques to connect meaningfully with anyone you meet. Van Edwards presents socializing as a system you can hack, with everything from decoding nonverbal cues to nailing that first impression in just 5 minutes. Essentially, it's like upgrading your people skills software to the latest version, without the awkward glitches. Imagine walking into a party where everyone seems to know everyone except you. Instead of freezing or making a quick escape plan, this book gives you tools like conversation sparkers, questions scientifically proven to light up a conversation and avoid the dreaded small talk. Things like, what's the most exciting thing you've done recently? Instead of, so, weather, huh? She also introduces personality archetypes through the Big 5 personality model, which helps you understand that different people need different approaches. For example, your introverted friend won't light up at loud compliments, but they might appreciate thoughtful praise over text. One key anecdote highlights Van Edwards' journey from socially awkward to socially skilled through countless mini experiments, like using dopamine extreme-emitting phrases at networking events to test if they led to more meaningful conversations. Spoiler, they did. This book reframes social interaction as a practical, learnable skill. No born extrovert status required. Before diving into self-help books that tell you how to be more successful or build influence, Captivate lays the groundwork for making real human connections. Because if you can't engage people, those life hacks won't go very far. Whether you're looking to level up at work, deepen friendships, or impress at first dates, this book equips you with actionable strategies. Van Edwards also tackles the common misconception that confidence means being loud. Instead, she emphasizes authenticity, that you can shine in your own quiet way by making others feel seen and heard. Most self-help books talk about networking, leadership, or confidence, but they don't always give you the nitty-gritty of how to do it. Captivate fills that gap by showing you how to make your interactions powerful, authentic, and memorable. After all, what's the use of mastering goal setting if you can't connect with the people who can help you get there? Bottom line, Captivate doesn't just teach you how to charm a room. It teaches you how to navigate life's social maze like a pro. But once you start questioning where your desires come from, a bigger challenge emerges. How do you know if you're truly thinking for yourself or just following someone else's lead? That's where things get interesting. 4. Deceit, Desire, and the Novel by Renee Girard. Imagine living your life like a game of Simon Says, where your desires and aspirations are dictated not by your needs, but by someone else's influence. This is Renee Girard's central idea. In Deceit, Desire, and the Novel, Girard introduces mimetic desire, which suggests that much of what we crave isn't innate, but copied from others. Instead of directly desiring something, we desire it because someone else seems to value it. Girard illustrates this with literary giants like Don Quixote, Emma Bovary, and Julien Sorel, showing how their quests for love, prestige, or honor are shaped by the values of others rather than personal, authentic yearnings. Think of Don Quixote wanting to be a knight, not because he inherently loves fighting windmills, but because he idolizes Amadis of Gaul, a fictional hero. Girard argues that many of our desires work like this. Rather than following our true interests, we chase ideals mirrored by role models, celebrities, or social expectations. This triangular model of desire, self, object, and mediator, explains everything from petty jealousy to existential crises. Emma Bovary, for instance, doesn't long for a fulfilling life in the countryside. She's craving the romanticized vision of life from novels she reads. This book's relevance in today's world of curated lifestyles and influencer culture is staggering. We often confuse our wants with genuine purpose. Whether it's a fancy phone upgrade or an Instagram-worthy vacation, Girard's theory suggests that we might only want it because it's what everyone else seems to value. More profoundly, Girard exposes how mimetic desire can trap us in cycles of rivalry, vying for jobs, partners, or status, not because we love these pursuits, but because we're desperate to win against others. By understanding these dynamics, we can reflect on how much of our striving is driven by internal versus external pressures. One of Girard's boldest claims is that modern ideas of individualism and unique self-expression are often illusions. He contends that even the most rebellious among us, those who claim to reject societal norms, are often just mirroring a counterculture they didn't create. This upends the romantic notion that we can entirely escape social influences. Girard's critique of the human ego is uncomfortable, but necessary. It challenges the myth of the self-made individual and asks us to reconsider whether our ambitions are as independent as we think. Deceit, Desire, and the Novel is a philosophical wake-up call. Girard helps us see that while it's normal to admire others, we must tread carefully when that admiration morphs into envy-fueled ambition. He encourages us to choose our mediators wisely, learning from figures who inspire humility and growth rather than rivalry and superficial success. Whether you're reflecting on career goals, relationships, or personal fulfillment, Girard's insights can help you break free from desires that aren't truly your own. This makes the book a powerful antidote to hollow aspirations and essential reading before diving into the self-help section. 5. The Plague by Albert Camus. Let's end with a literary heavyweight. The Plague by Albert Camus isn't just a novel, it's a profound examination of human resilience, fear, and morality in the face of catastrophe. The story follows Dr. Rear and the residents of Oran as they battle an outbreak of the bubonic plague. On the surface, it's about survival during a literal epidemic, but on a deeper level, it's a philosophical exploration of how humans react when their comfortable world collapses. At its core, the plague is Camus' metaphor for existential crisis and societal breakdown. The town of Oran is cut off from the outside world, and people go from denial to terror to apathy. The characters, like the religious father, Panalou, who wrestles with divine justice, or Rambert, a journalist who questions loyalty and love, each represent a different reaction to absurdity. Imagine you're binge-watching the news during a global crisis. Sound familiar? At first, it's shocking, then numbing. That's Camus' brilliance. He captures the slow unraveling of human routines and sanity. Dr. Rue's quiet bravery mirrors the quiet resilience many of us tap into when life doesn't make sense. Camus doesn't sugarcoat suffering. He challenges the comforting notion that everything happens for a reason. Instead, he argues for defiance, fighting against the void even when victory is uncertain. The takeaway? Meaning isn't handed to us. We create it. This book isn't just essential reading, it's the ultimate capstone because it teaches us to endure when self-help slogans fall short. When you're facing setbacks or questioning your purpose, the plague whispers, "Stand your ground. Your actions matter, even if the world doesn't play fair." So, after surviving plagues, both literal and existential, you might feel ready to step back and reevaluate everything. No matter how many brilliant books you read, theory alone won't change your life. You need practical systems to put that knowledge into action. That's where the personal MBA comes in. Josh Kaufman breaks down the essentials of business, productivity, and decision-making into simple, applicable frameworks. No jargon, no gatekeeping, just tools you can use in real life to make smarter choices, whether you're managing your finances, launching a passion project, or improving your career. This book is a reminder that success isn't about reading more. It's about applying what you've learned in meaningful ways. Whether it's figuring out how to manage your resources or spotting the right opportunities, Kaufman's insights give you a practical roadmap. Reading is valuable, but real growth happens when you combine learning with action. You've upgraded your mindset and sharpened your focus. So what's next? Now it's time to simplify, prioritize, and make your life work for you. If you're ready to take control of your time, money, and habits, check out my next video on mastering financial clarity and building sustainable systems. Click here. It's the next step in making your 2025 the year that truly counts.